Michelle has already said, we light the fourth candle of Advent, the candle of joy. The long-awaited promise of God's reign upon the throne of David is about to be realized. But instead of a conquering king taking what is rightfully his, or a royal birth for which all can celebrate, we hear he enters the scene in almost obscurity by way of a peasant girl named Mary. Some ask, how many girls did God ask before he found one willing to say yes? The answer is, we don't know. But I suspect with God's ability to know those that are loved, God knew before asking that her answer would be yes. How daunting such a request must have been. A young lady about to be married is asked to give of herself in a way that could bring great discredit upon her family, even death for her, should her apparent unfaithfulness to her betrothed be discovered. I wonder how many of us would be so bold as to say, here I am. Let it be according to your word. If God's messenger came to us saying that it is through us, God's love would be revealed for all with eyes to see. I suspect many would, like Mary, ask, how is such a thing possible? You might be surprised to hear that we are asked daily to do just this. God comes to us each and every day through the Holy Spirit, each and every time we wake up, asking us to make God's love known in who we are and what we do. Some days, like the prophet Samuel and then Mary, we say, here I am, Lord, send me. And other days we ask, really? Today? God's answer is always, yes, today. Tomorrow, too. After rolling our eyes and asking how, we are reminded that we do not do this alone. That God is with us through the indwelling of the Holy Spirit, giving us the courage, strength, and willpower to do so. Just as God did for those who have been called before us, those who journey with us, and those who will follow. This time of year, I often reflect on my own first call from God. And I remember my response was much like that of Mary. Who, me? I was no holy roller. I had my faults. Yet in the middle of cutting the grass at the church we attended, God reached out, calling my name, placing a question in my heart that would not go away. Unlike Mary, I did not quickly say, yes. It took me time. Time to understand why me. Why then? I would like to say that when I finally did say yes, all things became clear. The path before me was leveled, and I would boldly go forth. But the truth is, my first steps were small and much more timid than you might expect. Looking back, I realized this was not the first time God had called, but it was the first time I had really listened. And in doing so, it changed everything. For me, and for many I have journeyed with over the years. Last week, we gave thanks for the love that we have come to know. And this week, for the love we are able to share. Love that brings a joy to the hearts of those who encounter it. Love that has the ability to change everything. Christmas may have become a huge secular holiday, but its roots, its effects, are still grounded in love. Love that is shared through the gifts that we give of ourselves. Gifts that remind us that the relationships that we share in are something we treasure, and through which we find great joy. Yes, sometimes we find frustration in the midst of those relationships. But each Advent, we are reminded just how important those relationships are to us and to God. Often finding them re-energized as we are naturally drawn closer together through the festivities of the approaching season. This year, it will be hard for us to feel the closeness we normally enjoy, as we're unable to do the traditional things we have done, things that just naturally bring us together. So what do? We look for other ways to do the same thing. Maybe it's not a large family gathering this year, as may have been our custom, but a more intimate setting in which those nearest to us and closest to us are able to participate. I've even heard of some families who are planning to prepare the same meals wherever they are, and then through Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, enjoy sitting around the table with family to share in that meal, and to enjoy the usual conversation, seeing and hearing one another through a computer screen, iPad, or even a phone. With our son living in Arizona, we have used technology, not just to watch one another eat or to talk around the table, but especially at Christmas, for the family to join together as we open our presents, sharing in the joy gifts given in love bring. As we look for other ways to help connect to one another, let us know we are not doing something new. God has been searching for ways to reconnect with humanity for centuries. And in today's gospel, we hear that God tries something new, something different. We hear how God is no longer going to work through prophets or judges or mighty acts. That God is coming to us through the incarnation to show us the way to know and share in the love God has for us. Love so deep that God desires that none of us should be lost. That is why, following his resurrection, Jesus pours out his Spirit upon us, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God, that we might, through its indwelling nature, become instruments of God's peace, sharing the love God has for us, bringing joy into the lives of those who receive it. This joy will enable us to say yes. Maybe reluctantly on some days, but yes nonetheless. When we are asked to share this love with others so that they may know it too. I wonder how many lives will be changed forever when we say yes.